Hey, what is going on, class? Welcome to your video lesson for today. Your primary goal for class today is to finish the assignment that you're given today and to get all of your previous assignments finished. You can look at the table. I have all of the assignments that we've done so far that are going to go into the gradebook for this unit are over there. You should have them. You should have them started because most of them were partly notes and things that we did in class. So don't just go over and grab them. Make sure, don't leave that table a mess. Pick up after yourself, straighten the paper piles when you walk over there, and make sure that you leave it looking better than you found it. As you are kind of going through this is mostly just going to be review and going over stuff that we've already kind of talked about and just kind of solidifying it. So, number one thing, you need 3 pieces of information whenever you are dealing with trying to determine if 2 triangles are congruent. So, kind of the 4 most common ones is side, 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 SAS, AAS, and ASA. Those are the big ones. Those are the ones that we are going to use a lot. There's one additional one, and that is if we have 2 triangles. Oops, connect for me, please. How is that what are you doing? Sometimes I swear my iPad is trying to do the opposite of what I'm trying to do. The only other option we have is if you have a situation like this, where we have a right triangle and we are given the hypotenuse, which is the longest side of a triangle, and any leg. This is a leg, that's a leg. So when we're looking at this thing, if we're given this 90-degree angle and any of these 2 sides, you might be led to think that this is SSA. Technically, it is, but it's a very special case because we know about this really cool thing called the Pythagorean theorem that states that a squared plus b squared equals c squared, which means if we know 2 sides of a right triangle, then we know the third. So when we're looking at these, this is a HL, hypotenuse leg congruence. It is just as good as any of the others, and it's another option that we'll talk about more kind of as we keep going. The main culprit, the one that I guarantee will get you, is this one. Because it's really tempting to say that these are congruent if all of the angles line up. But we've kind of talked about this in class, and the fact that when we have any sort of situation like this, the angles are based on the ratio of the sides, which means this word here means fraction. And for instance, if we're thinking about, I'll call maybe this side A and this one B. And let's call this 2A, 2B. Obviously, I think it's a little bit more than 2 times the size, but for the sake of it, when we have any sort of triangle like this, for all intents and purposes, we're going to just call it f of x is our function. Well, that function equals a over b. This is a very simplified version. Well, that is the same thing as 2a over 2b, because the dilation that we used to take this small thing here and make it bigger cancels out. That is why AAA is not a congruence, is because it does not count for any sort of change in the angle. The other one that will get you is SSA, angle side side. Like I've said before, if you are cussing or screaming, it's not a congruence. And the reason for that is, if you look at this thing, we have this side, and an angle not between them. We can take this thing and we can rotate and expand this angle here, and this line segment is going to touch in two places. So it is not a congruence. Some of the key things that we're going to be using as we continue forward is this idea of a shared side and a vertical angle. This allows us to look at triangles that are touching or interacting in some way that we wouldn't necessarily be able to say are congruent without knowing and without kind of thinking through, well, we know these angles are the same, we know these angles are the same, and maybe in some of the cases we see that, oh, there's a shared side. So clearly between both triangles, that must be congruent. Got some examples here to look at and kind of just go through as you're looking at these. Some advice that I'm going to give you, and we're going to look at, I'm going to zoom in on this one. I'm going to use a highlighter. So in all of our triangles, we have a lot of information. Let me make this blue. So we could have this side, this side, this side, that angle, and this angle. Notice there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pieces of information. Of that 6, we need 3, but we need a particular 3. And whenever we're looking at this, kind of the trick we're looking for, because I know a lot of students have struggled with the fact that, well, how do I know the order to label these in? Well, my advice is, when you're looking at it, so I've got this one, and this one. You can try starting at any of them. The key is you can only skip over one of the empty spaces in the naming. So for instance, if I start here and I go to the right, I would go S, A, blank, blank, blank. Notice how I hit 3 blanks? That is clearly not the right starting point. Well, what if I start here and go to the right? Well, I immediately go A, blank, 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 not the right way. Well, what if I start in the middle and I go to the left? Well, you'll notice we end up at the same case. Side, angle, blank, blank, blank. So I have to choose to either start here or here and move towards the other things, because if I start here, I have A, S, A, or A, S, A. So when we're naming, that's kind of the process. That's how we want to be working through that. And we'll notice up here on this one, we've got the same thing, A, S, A. So clearly, these two triangles must be congruent by A, S, A. Go ahead, pause the video for a second, and try this one out. So hopefully, as you are going through and looking at this, you're noticing that we are given this outside, and they're told that this one is the same. We're given an angle and told that, well, this one's the same, which obviously must be. This is a parallelogram, one of my least favorite shapes to spell because I feel like I'm always spelling it incorrectly. But it's a parallelogram, which means that this side is parallel to this side is parallel to this side, and as we're going through it, that means that this thing that's cutting between these parallel lines, well, yeah, these angles must be congruent because, and write that down in your notes, what is the reason? If you are not sure, and if you haven't gotten it in the time that it's taken since I asked that question, make sure, go back and study last test. You need to understand that material really well. It is going to come up over and over and over and over and over again. And if you don't know it, it is going to hurt you. So please go back and study, make sure that you know that material because it is going to be on your next test. But also, if you're still struggling with it, you probably are going to be retaking that test. Make sure you practice. Come talk to me. Come in during office hours or lunch. I am in the classroom every day except for, well, today during lunch. I'll be back this afternoon. But you can come in any day during lunch, most weeks except for Thursdays. Thursdays is the only day where I'm out of my room during lunch. And office hours, the only time that I'm not in there during office hours, that is not times where I'm dragged away by meetings, is Fridays. I'm usually a little late to office hours because I have a club meeting. Come get help. It is your responsibility to learn this material. And it's really important that you learn it, even if you are sitting there like, I'm never going to use this. I'm never going to care. Maybe you might not ever use it, but that working of your brain, that development of the ability to understand this stuff is really important. Even if you're not going to ever use it, it's not going to be something you're good at. Learning to do things that you don't like doing is really good for what we call metacognitive skills, or the ability to understand how you learn. That there are lots of things that I've had to learn that I don't enjoy. I'm currently sitting here on my left side. I'm paused right now, taking a break from videos about coaching. It's like, yeah, it's great. It's helpful. I see where the usefulness comes in. But ultimately, 90% of the things in the video are things that don't pertain to me. They don't pertain to what I'm going to be doing. And the 10% of things that do pertain to me, I'm like, yes, I already know that because it's something I'm passionate about. But I still have to learn it. I still have to go through and take the course. It's 12, 13 hours of material. I just got to do it. So it's part of it. Believe me, I understand sitting in a class that you don't think matters. I'm telling you from this side, as the kid who was not paying attention because it didn't matter, it mattered so much more than I was willing to admit. And if I could go back, talk to little high school Mr. Curry, I would tell him, take those classes more seriously. Take that class that was a little bit too hard. Take that class that didn't seem interesting, that I didn't care about English, so I didn't take AP Lit senior year. Go back and take it, because at the end of the day, it's not about whether or not it's something that you love and you enjoy and you want to learn. It's about pushing yourself to grow, to be better. Use this right now as a chance to work on stuff, to get ready for that retake, to get ready for this test. Make those improvements, because I know you all can do it. You just have to try. And you have to talk to me and get help. That you should see that this right here, those are our alternate interior angles. and that should be reflexive when you see this situation. So we know they're congruent. We know this side is congruent to that side because, duh, it's the same side. So we've got an SAS, we've got SAS. So this one is congruent by SAS. Make sure if you are stuck or confused on this at all, come get help, ask questions. It's amazing what a little bit of effort on your part will do, and it doesn't take much. Got a couple here. Pause the video and match up these definitions that are on the side. See if they work with what you've got there. So looking at this first one, well, those angles are congruent, so I've got SAS, SAS. Notice I'm trying to do that in the same order. I started at the 1, went to the angle, went to the double. So SAS, and they are congruent. Looking at this one, I got ASA. They are clearly congruent by ASA. This one, looking at it, I've got angle, side, angle, side. So congruent, AAS, AAS. You could have also said SAA. Either one works. Then when I'm looking at this one here, what does my gut tell me? Well, I've got ASA. ASS. What am I talking about? Sorry, this is an S. Mr. Curry clearly wasn't paying attention in kindergarten. I'm cussing, therefore there's not enough information. Why or why not? It's SSA, not a congruence. So feel free, if you're going through this video and that was a little fast, go back, watch it again, follow along. You can pause, go back and forth. If you're really confused, make sure, come talk to me. Once again, I'm going to hit you with, you should be really confident with this right here. When you see this, you should just automatically be going at it. So take a moment, pause the video, fill this thing out. If you're not automatic with it, practice more of them. You can just draw these and you can fill in any number you want here. Any number between, realistically, you probably want 1 to 179. Pick any number and you can make it work. And just practice it. Do it over and over again. So here, we should get 55 degrees. Then, this one's a little bit tougher. Maybe I need to write out my subtraction over here. Never any judgment for writing out your subtraction. 125. And really, you're only going to have to find one number, realistically, in anything like this, and just write 2 numbers over and over again. This should be second nature by now, and if it's not, come talk to me. I can help you practice it and get better at it. That is it for the things that I'm going to be showing you today. Make sure that you are following the instructions on the board. I gave you a nice list. Watch this video. Check. Work on the assignment that goes with this lesson. Should be doing that. Then work on those other assignments. Work on your Delta Math assignment. Remember, I'll give you extra credit. The more problems you do on that, in my opinion, the more work you do, the higher your grade's going to get. So I'm willing to bet on that you're not really going to need that extra credit if you're doing extra work. And make sure that you are getting ready for not only this test, but the test corrections and the retake. Retake of Unit 2 is by next Friday, the 24th of March. That is also when this test is going to be too. Unit 3 test will be then as well. If you are looking at it and you are unhappy with your Unit 1 test, the deadline was last Friday, so it's too late for that. So make sure that you are focusing on the next tests after this and make up for any low scoring in the future. Make sure you come talk to me if you have any concerns or if there's anything that you need from me, and I will gladly do my best to help you. Have a great day, and I will see you next class.